In the next 3 minutes, you'll discover the real reason you haven't changed your life yet, and it's not lack of motivation. Everyone thinks life transformation requires massive action, but what if the real shift begins with something as small as an atom? In the best-selling book Atomic Habits, James Clear reveals how minimal daily behaviors, almost invisible at first, can generate powerful and lasting transformations. The problem is not that you're not motivated, it's that you may be relying on the wrong strategy for change. Whether you've failed to maintain a study routine, save money, work out consistently, or stop procrastinating, the root of the issue is not intensity, but consistency. Small habits shape big lives. James Clear's book argues that the changes you desire in life depend far more on small habits than on a great attitude. For instance, if you want to get in shape, you need to make the habit of exercising every day. If you want to learn a new language, pass a public exam, or succeed in a test, you must adopt the habit of studying daily. According to the author, the quality of our lives hinges on the quality of our habits. The word atomic in the title refers to the atom, that which is so small it cannot be divided. And as the author explains, this is how our habits need to be, tiny and consistent. These atomic habits matter more than grand attitudes for those who wish to change their lives. When you establish a new habit, at first, it is your ability to perform the act that matters more than the habit itself. That is to say, even small habits on the scale of an atom will yield benefits that grow exponentially over the long term. For example, reading just 1 page of a book per day. If you persist with the habit, you will soon find yourself reading more and more. The author James Clear is an American writer, entrepreneur, and photographer whose focus lies on habits and human potential. How a habit is formed. If you have tried and failed to build habits like eating better, working out, studying daily, reading more books, or even saving money, you can use the strategy of reducing and simplifying these behaviors to the utmost. To do this, you must understand the 4 steps of a habit: cue, craving, desire, response, and reward. And you must apply the 4 laws that govern each of these steps, either to create a new habit or to eliminate a bad one. Habits are like the interest earned on self-improvement. Just as money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. A bad habit may seem to make little difference day to day, yet its impact over months and years can be enormous. Only when we look 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years ahead does the worth of good habits and the cost of the bad become remarkably clear. This is a concept that can be hard to grasp in everyday life. We often dismiss minor changes because they don't seem to matter much in the moment. If you save a little money now, you still are not a millionaire. If you go to the gym 3 days in a row, you are still out of shape. If you study Mandarin for 1 hour tonight, you haven't yet learned the language. We make some changes, but the results don't appear quickly, and then we return to our previous routines. Sadly, the slow pace of transformation also makes it easy to let go of a bad habit. If you eat an unhealthy meal today, the scale doesn't budge much. If you work late tonight and ignore your family, they will forgive you. If you procrastinate and put off your work until tomorrow, there is usually still time to finish it later. A single decision is easy to ignore. But when we repeat small mistakes day by day, doubling little errors and rationalizing tiny excuses, our small choices turn into toxic outcomes. It is the accumulation of many errors, just a 1% decline here and another one there, which eventually leads to real problems. A slight change in your daily habits can steer your life toward a very different destiny. Choosing to be 1% better or 1% worse may seem insignificant now, but over the moments that make up a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between who you are and who you could become. According to the author, success is the product of daily habits, not of one-off life transformations. The plateau of latent potential If you find yourself struggling to build a good habit or break a bad one, it isn't because you've lost your ability to improve. It's often because you have not yet crossed what he calls the plateau of latent potential. Complaining about not achieving success despite working hard is like complaining an ice cube isn't melting when you warm it from 25 to 31 degrees. Your effort wasn't wasted, it's just being stored. Likewise, habits often don't appear to make a difference until you surpass a critical threshold and unlock a higher level of performance. In the early and middle phases of any endeavor, there is often a valley of disappointment. You expect linear progress, and it is frustrating how ineffective changes can seem during the first few days, weeks, and even months. It feels like you're getting nowhere. This is a feature of any compounding process. The most powerful results are delayed. That is one of the main reasons why it is so difficult to build lasting habits. People make small changes, fail to see tangible results, and decide to abandon them. You think, I've been running every day for a month, so why don't I see changes in my body? When that kind of thinking takes over, it is easy to let good habits slip away. But to make a significant difference, habits must persist long enough to break through the plateau of latent potential and emerge on the other side. All great things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single, tiny decision. But as that decision is repeated, the habit grows and strengthens. The roots get deep and the branches expand. The task of breaking a bad habit is like uprooting a mighty oak within you. And the job of building a good habit is like nurturing a delicate flower one day at a time. But what determines if we stick with a habit long enough to survive the plateau of latent potential and burst through to the other side? What causes some people to continue unwanted habits while others enjoy the effects of good habits? Why is it easier to maintain bad habits? Why is it so easy to repeat bad habits and so difficult to form good ones? Few things can have a more powerful impact on your life than improving your daily habits. It often seems tough to keep good habits going for more than a few days, even with sincere effort and a burst of motivation. Habits like exercising, meditating, journaling, and cooking feel manageable for a day or two, then become a chore. Yet once these habits are established, they often remain forever, especially the unwanted ones. Despite our best intentions, unhealthy habits, like eating junk food, watching too much television, procrastinating, and smoking, can seem impossible to break. Changing our habits is a challenge for two reasons. First, because we try to change the wrong thing, and second, because we try to change our habits in the wrong way. How to build better habits, a habit, is behavior repeated enough to become automatic. The process of habit formation starts with trial and error. Whenever you face a new situation in life, your brain must decide how to act. The first time you encounter a situation, you are unsure how to respond, so brain activity is high. You analyze the context carefully and make conscious decisions about how to behave. You're gathering information and trying to figure it all out. When you repeat that situation, your brain begins automating the response. Your habits are simply a series of automatic solutions to recurring issues and stresses in your environment. As one behavioral scientist describes it, habits are simply reliable solutions to recurring problems in our environment. As your habits form, brain activity decreases. You learn to recognize the cues that predict success and ignore everything else. When a similar situation comes up in the future, you know what to look for, and there's no need to go through every angle again. Your brain skips the trial and error and builds a mental rule: if this, then that. These cognitive scripts run automatically when the right conditions appear. In a way, a habit is just a reminder of the steps you've previously taken to solve a problem. When conditions are right, you rely on this memory and automatically apply the learned solution. The main reason the brain remembers past actions is to better predict what will work in the future. The science behind the habit, the process of habit formation, can be broken down into 4 simple steps, cue, craving, response, and reward. Understanding these basic parts helps us see what a habit really is, how it works, and how we can improve it. These 4 steps form the backbone of every habit, and your brain goes through them in this order each time. First, there's the cue. The cue triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. It's a bit of information signaling a possible reward. Our prehistoric ancestors watched for signals that meant food, water, or sex were close. Nowadays, we're scanning for clues pointing to secondary rewards such as money, fame, power, status, praise, friendship, love, or personal satisfaction. Your mind is constantly analyzing the internal and external environment for clues about where rewards are located. Because the cue signals that a reward may be near, it naturally leads to a craving. Cravings are the second step. They're the motivating force behind every habit. Without motivation or desire, without wanting a change, we have no reason to act. What we crave isn't necessarily the habit itself, but the change in state that it gives us. You don't smoke a cigarette because you want the cigarette. You want the feeling of relief it brings. You don't brush your teeth because you enjoy a toothbrush. You want the freshness of a clean mouth. You don't turn on the TV because you like the remote. You want entertainment. All desires are about altering the internal state. Desires differ from person to person. In theory, any clue can trigger a desire, yet in practice, people are not motivated by the same triggers. To a gambler, the sound of slot machines might trigger a powerful desire. For someone who seldom gambles, the same bells and lights are just background noise. Cues are meaningless until they're interpreted. It's the observer's thoughts, feelings, and emotions that turn a cue into a craving. The third step is response. The response is the actual habit you carry out. It could be a thought or an action. Whether you act depends on how motivated you are and how much friction the behavior involves. If an action requires more physical or mental effort than you're willing to spend, you won't do it. Your response also depends on your ability. It sounds simple, but a habit can only happen if you're capable of doing it. If you want to dunk a basketball but can't jump high enough to reach the rim, you're going to be out of luck. Finally, there is the reward. Rewards are the ultimate purpose of every habit. The cue hints at the reward. The craving is the desire for it. The response is how we attempt to reach it. We pursue rewards because they serve 2 purposes. They satisfy and they teach. First, rewards satisfy your desire. Yes, they offer benefits in themselves. Food and water give you the energy you need to survive. A promotion brings more money and respect. Staying in shape improves health and dating prospects. But more immediately, the reward satisfies the craving for food, status, approval, for at least a moment. Second, rewards tell us which actions are worth remembering for the future. Your brain acts like a reward detector. As life goes on, your sensory and nervous systems monitor which actions satisfy your desires and bring pleasure. Feelings of pleasure and disappointment become feedback that help your brain tell useful actions from useless ones. Rewards complete the feedback loop and thus finish the habit cycle. In short, cue triggers a craving. That craving motivates a response. The response delivers a reward. The reward satisfies the craving. The reward becomes associated with the cue. And this loop is how automatic habits are formed. The 4 laws of behavior. Change. Whenever you aim to change your behavior, you can ask yourself, how can I make this obvious? A habit is behavior so repeated that it becomes automatic. If any step of the 4-part loop is weak, the habit struggles to form. A simple and effective model to set a cue is, I'm going to do this behavior at this moment in this place. How can I make it attractive? The cue initiates the second step of the loop, desire. To forge new habits, you must make them appealing. The key is linking the habit you want to build to some positive experience. To break bad habits, you do the opposite. Make the habit unattractive. Without attractiveness, you won't generate desire, and without desire, you will not act. How? Can I make it easy? Here lies the classic law of least effort. The easier a habit is to perform, the more likely it is to stick. Simplify the behavior, reduce the friction, eliminate obstacles. How can I make it satisfying? The most crucial point in creating and maintaining a habit is to feel good, even if only briefly. The sense of success signals to you that what you did was worth it. The more satisfying your experience of the new behavior, the more likely you are to repeat it. Final summary: if you are looking for real change in your habits, follow James Clear's approach. His work has become a global success by offering a practical method for how to build new habits and how to abandon the harmful ones.